Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I guess you can tell just by looking at the figures before you, but I'm going to say it anyway. Thy kingdom come. Right here is Wave 1 Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Core Class figures. These are the smallest figures going to be available in the Kingdom line. I believe they'll be replacing the Battle Masters, Micro Masters, Bridge Masters, Shield Masters, this thingamabob and another. And yeah, there's a lot of talk about why these figures are in this size class. There's a lot of different rumors, especially why we're getting an Optimus Prime in this class. Might have to do with the rumored Titan class figure. The Ark. Excuse me. Don't know exactly what that's going to be, but yeah, I got these figures off of eBay. But Optimus Prime is supposed to be shipping and in stock sometime next week. Around November 11th, for those of you watching in the future, 2020. So you might be able to get one of these. I have heard that the other two might be coming in stock. They were not in. They did not move for me, and I was able to get them off eBay, so I went that route. So we'll come back, and we're going to start off by looking at Optimus Prime. Okay, here we have Optimus Prime. Now, a few things to note. Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, all ball joints. That means this will loosen up over time and does make transformation a little extra fiddly than it has to be. I believe the head's on a ball joint, but because of the sculpt of the head, that's a little limited. With all that said, I find this to be the best smaller class Optimus Prime figure that I've handled. I mean, it comes with an ion blaster, which is another issue I feel I need to mention, is that the way this figure holds the ion blaster, it is a 3mm hole into a 3mm peg, while on top of that 3mm peg is a 5mm peg. So yeah, from certain angles it looks like he's holding the rifle higher than it should be. But that does make it compatible with figures that have 5mm ports in its hands. Let's get right into the transformation and not fool around. First of all, what you want to do is go ahead and fold the head all the way into the chest. Now, when going back to robot mode, to be able to get that head out, you will flip up this red panel, which actually covers over that the head cavity, and there's a section right here that's actually the plate the head's on. So if you can't get it all the way up with the finger, just use the ion blaster and his head pops up. But anyway, you want that down, and then you're going to bring this panel over. Make sure the head's down all the way so this can sit flush. Might take a couple tries to get it down. It really doesn't peg into place. A lot of it is friction. Next, what you want to do is come in and fold the hands up and in. Now on this arm right here, which is the right arm, I do notice that the plastic around the wrist tends to flare out a little, especially when the hand is snapped all the way into position with the fist out. That's something you want to keep an eye on. Also, right here on the inside of the wrists are 3mm pegs. These do not peg into anything in vehicle mode, so I wonder if there will be some weapons that can actually utilize that down the line. At this point, you can go ahead and just peg the legs together if you so desire. You can do that later on if you want. And then with the back of the figure facing you, bring the arms out at an angle and rotate everything around. That really is bothering me, but that panel is not staying down. And you want to rotate the upper torso around so that now the chest and arms are facing towards you while the legs are facing away from you. Go ahead and bring the hip section all the way back, like so, so everything's sitting out. Obviously, that's going to be the back of the truck. And then come around to this section, and in robot mode, this sort of just, there are little grooves, because there's little notches here that sit in the grill, but really, they doesn't peg in, but it's on a double hinge, and you want to fold this out all the way, so that it will snap into place and form the front of the truck mode. Now you'll bring the arms down to the side, fold them up at the elbow joint, and if you've ever transformed an Optimus Prime figure, you know what comes next. Swing it back and in so that the forearms are flush against the inside of the cab, and the shoulders are up in that position. There are holes on the bottom of the forearms and pegs on his legs that will peg in, but you do have to play around with it a little. Again, this is much harder than it needs to be due to the whole having ball joints. And I would have liked the secondary way that the legs could maybe the arms could come together, but there you have Optimus Prime in its truck mode. And of course, you're going to have to do some fiddling between the forearms and the shoulders to get them somewhat straight and lined up properly. I mean, if you are like me and a little anal about those things. But surprisingly, once you have the arms pegged in to the legs, they hold. Now, for the Ion Blaster, there's a slot right there on the gray section then there's an extended tab running to the front of the Ion Blaster. You can peg it in like that. Or there's a hole there in the trailer hitch, and you can peg it in just like that. Again, I should mention that paint tolerances, all that stuff, will affect how he holds the blaster, how things go together. That's all normal for a figure of this size, but it does roll quite nicely. And I think, like I said, I think it's kind of cool, and I think this is the best looking G1-ish Optimus Prime we've gotten in this size. Okay, and now we're taking a look at the new character in this first wave, Predacon Vertebreak. I guess this is a bad guy character. Now, I should mention that there is no indication on its packaging that this character is a Predacon. I'm calling it a Predacon because it has the Predacon symbol there on its chest. So if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck. Now, you'll notice that Vertebreak has 5mm holes in its hands, and that's to hold its tail weapon, which also has at the tip a 3mm port. So there is some cross compatibility. One thing you can do is you'll notice that on this side of the tail are these two pronounced tabs, and this can actually peg into the back here, and you do have some weapon storage. So there you go. You do have that. Now, I do want to mention the arms, and especially the forearms, are fairly thick and sturdy, although the hands seem a little thin. The legs, though, are very thin, and if you're going to move them around, grab them as close to the joint as you can, and especially when to bring attention to the knees. Even though it looks like it, they cannot bend forward. They can only bend back like a quote-unquote normal knee. So just be careful of that. And there are ball joints here at the feet. So that is kind of cool. It is rather posable for a figure of this size. Now, get into the transformation. Remove the tail, come around the back here, open up that back section, start to bring the head back. At the same time, you want to bring up this whole head section, which will allow you to bring the head all the way down. You'll then want to detach this chest piece as you bring back the head all the way so it's actually facing towards you. Close up that back section. There's a tab on that in the inside of the chest plate and a slot on the inside of this back section that will sort of peg together. You can then adjust the head on a secondary joint so it'll face forward. Then what you're going to do now is come around and grabbing the arms by the shoulder, rotate them in, and just like so. And there are some tabs on the inside of the forearms that will sort of peg into slots around the rib cage there to hold the arms into place. And then you can go ahead and fold in these side panels to bring the dinosaur arms down. Next, it's really up to you. You want to come in, bring the legs forward, bend them at the knee to get it into some sort of squatting walking position. And then there's that 5mm port in the rear. So bring the tail in and peg it in just like so. Now, there was some discussion that maybe this is a weaponizer or a battle master of sort. There are no extra posts that I can find that can turn this into like a handheld weapon. Most importantly, there's no peg to hold this figure as a weapon. So, yeah, that's about it. It does look like maybe the mouth was supposed to open and close, but you do see it is a separate piece there, but I just don't see any way to be able to move it. It is on soft plastic, so I'm not even going to try. But yeah, I kind of like this. I think the term now is fossilizer, so I like the fact that we have a skeleton that turns into a robot. So there's that for Vertebreak. Okay, and here's one of the most popular characters come out of the Beast Wars show. This is Rattrap. Rattrap was one of the earliest revealed core figures, and I know some other reviewers got samples off of the factory conveyor belt to review early, but this is an official release with packaging and everything. So let us begin. As with all the other core class figures, you have ball joints in the shoulders, elbows, hips, and knees, as well as a ball jointed ankle, which is kind of cool. Gives you a nice little bit of movement there. I do like the blaster. If you want some storage in robot mode, get it out of the hand. There is this longer tab right there, which will fit into a slot right under the back. Now, some people express concern that with these shoulders, and I got to say, it's really not that bad. Just the joints are tight, so take your time with them. If they start to pull on that transformation joint, just move it back up. But you can get the movement out of it that you would so want. Unfortunately, there is no storage for the weapon in beast mode, so we're going to have to take that and put it off to the side, and then come in, rotate the head around, grab the whole section of the back, the whole shell of the mouse rat, and you want to swing this down as far as it'll go. If you look here, right in there, the hinge on the connecting the figure to the back should be parallel. We already rotated the head around, so come in and rotate the rat head up and around. Next, what you want to do is on the joint here, rotate the arms around so they're facing up. And then you're going to fold them down on the joint and on the arm, and then finagle them. There's a little tab that will fit into the slots in the shoulders, and you're going to have to just play with it a little to get it to go in. Line it up right. And once it's in, it actually goes in. Once you have it all lined up, it kind of goes in easily. Unfortunately, this is I would say the hardest part of it. we go. There we go. All right. Whew, that's a little, like I said, it's a little tricky. There we go. Very nice. And then what we can go ahead and do now is detach this secondary back section, rotate the tail out so that all friction's into place, and then just lean this whole section upward, and that will sort of soft friction into place so you have a complete like head and neck section of the rat. Come around the side here, rotate the lower legs out to the side at the knee joint so that the back of the feet are facing up. Then rotate them at the joint below the knee, so now that the back of the foot is facing towards you. And then rotate that section forward and rotate the feet up so the bottom of the rat feet are facing towards you. And then what you're going to do now is bring these side panels in, and you'll position them so that there are tabs right there that will go into the side of the rat legs. And that will just work like that, just like that. Rotate the forearms of the robot mode down. This will reveal some slots here. So there are tabs that will then peg into those forearms. And that brings everything down. And then finally, the final step, bring the back legs up and they will tab into place. And when you have the rat down, you can bring the feet a little forward to help balance it. But there you have Rattrap in its robot mode, rat mode. There's a kind of flat tab here on that side of the gun that can go into the side of the leg. Right here, little tight, but you can get it in. And there you have Rattrap done. There's really no articulation in this mode, except for those rear feet. But I think it comes together somewhat nicely. How well these posts and such will hold over time, who knows? I mean, really the only tight frictioning joints are the shoulders and then into the hip joints there. So hopefully it'll stay. Okay, so here are all three figures back in their alternate modes for my final thoughts. And to be honest with you, I thought my favorite was going to be Optimus Prime, and it is, but it was a lot fiddlier than I had hoped it would be. With that said, I ended up enjoying Vertebreak and Rattrap a lot more than I thought I would. So all three of these figures are very solid. And when this wave one of Kingdom, is released and you can find it at retail, I definitely recommend picking all three of these figures up. Those of you who are, classic Beast Wars fans, I mean, Rattrap is going to fly off the shelves probably. But other than that, Optimus Prime and Vertebreak are solid pickups as well. And I'm curious to see, as I mentioned when looking at Optimus Prime, what those 3mm ports on the inside of its wrist, outside of its wrist, are going to be used for. Perhaps there's going to be a re-release or repaint down the line that replaces the Ion Blaster with its Energon axe, and that you can actually rotate the hand in and hold it properly. That's something I don't think has ever been done at the toy scale. I know it's been done on the Masterpiece scale. But again, fantastic figures. I picked them up off of eBay. The fact that they're coming out, I'm finding them now. The release date for Kingdom might be moved up a little. I know for those of you still trying to find Wave 2 and Wave 3 Earthrise figures, that's a little concerning. But hopefully everyone will be able to get the figures they want when they want, and that's ultimately my concern. So, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. While I do appreciate the views, the liking, commenting, and subscribing tells my masters at YouTube that this is a channel that should be promoted, and this video should be promoted and pushed forward in search results. If you really want to help support the channel and join my small group of Patreons too, I do have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. There's a link in the description below and a little card here in the corner. All I ask is $1 a month. No tiers, no thrills, no special rewards. All you're doing is literally helping me bring figures like this to you, and continue to update my equipment and stuff like that. Times are tough, and with lunchtime specials rearing their head again into the hobby, it's hard out there for smaller review channels like mine. This is your old pal Chuck for Vertebreak, Optimus Prime, and Rattrap. We will see you next time.